bugs tonight. I don't know what's going
Love,
on. Everybody cares
love is
about
in
the,
the
the
air.
love bugs. Hey, everybody. I'm Mike. This is Nick. This show is called Ask Twinsies. The principle is fairly simple. You ask us real questions. We give you stupid answers. I say that. Some of the questions aren't real. Some of the questions are pretty
Yeah, some
stupid,
are, and some are real today. We did actually get some real questions
which
today.
is always exhausting. So what we're
It
going to do
is.
is go through these one by one. Just remember, every week you can post questions on social media using the Ask Twinsies hashtag. We will answer them. So we're going to start with my friend Liz Schiller. Ask the question, what does Mike eat when he eats his feelings? I'm running out of snack ideas, but I have a lot of feelings left. I if there was an all of the above option, I would probably choose it. But specifically, something I've gotten into eating again that I just didn't eat for a long time is cereal, like kids' cereal. And I'm doing it at like 11 p.m., right? When I don't need
Mm.
my blood sugar shot up, I'm going back to that. What kind of terrible crap are you eating right now?
Oh yeah, I have a good variety. In quarantine, I was big on the olives, a variety of olives I wanted. Yeah, are you not an olive person?
I mean, compared to children's cereal, no, I am not an
No,
olive
I
person.
I also did the I also did it was big on salami and olives, a variety of those salami and peppers as well. Lots of pickled stuff in quarantine. But if I have my
Are
choice,
you pregnant?
I no, not that I know of. But if I am,
But
boy, are we gonna get some
but if the
sponsorship.
right guy comes along, you know. Pregnant
And
man
this,
gives birth. That's a fact. That's a reference to So I Married an Axe Murderer. Go on,
yes,
sorry.
it is. Uh, Big fan of the cinnamon toast crunch.
There you go.
Still a big fan of that one.
Well done.
Doritos are always a fan favorite.
Yeah. Speaking of marriage, being single might come from the fact that you always smell like cured meats. Colin asks the question that I'm going to leave to you. What's a better hangover meal, pizza or chicken fingers? You drink more and also eat more pizza and chicken fingers than I do. So what's your preference here?
I don't drink at all, so I don't know where you got that. Yeah, this is natural, this behavior. But when I did drink back in the day, I would go for pizza. Anything greasier it was definitely a preferred
I
hangover
really thought
treatment.
people did that Rocky thing where they drank raw eggs. Is that not a thing
No,
that people
no,
do?
I've never. No, or the Bloody Mary, I guess, is also a good cure for the hangover, but it's been a long time since I've had one.
We're going to get dark. Kevin asked the question. Let's assume 2020 has an all star finish, Skynet, which we're on pace for, if we're being honest. What would you do today if you learned that we had AI? It tanked the financial markets and infiltrated both robotics labs, military missile silos, and had just launched 100 FA 18 Hornets into the sky unmanned. The end is coming, Nick. What do you do first?
Yeah, well, I mean, with my exciting lifestyle, Mike, I'd probably do twinsies at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night.
I'd get that hat that Carl
What?
wore on Walking Dead, you know? The big fat round hat that Carl wore. I think that's pretty important as gear goes. But the other thing I would totally do, have you ever noticed in like sci-fi shows, end of the world shows, stuff always happens out in the middle of nowhere, but in reality that makes no sense whatsoever. And you realize as you get older that those sci-fi shows only did that because small towns are cheap, right? You would never have filmed Tremors in Manhattan because now you got to dig up crap in Manhattan. In reality, the end of the world happens in cities. That's what we're seeing with this pandemic. So I would get in a car and go to the middle of nowhere, and I live pretty close. So I think I'd be okay.
Yeah, that's your tree. You'd get in the car and you'd drive if it was coming to an end.
Oh, yeah, I'd go to the middle of nowhere and I'd
Don't
survive,
you
man.
already don't you already live in the middle of nowhere?
I'd take my 5 gallon buckets of beans that I got in the garage and I would go make cowboy chili out on the plains in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. I'm living. That's all I'm saying.
All right, all
We
right.
were made for this crap. Bring it, Skynet. Speaking of, Robin asked the question, what are the best uses for my new NSA spy, the Echo Dot?
I don't understand why you wouldn't absolutely just use it to tell your children what to do. So then it's not like you having to do it, but you instruct it to talk to the children for you.
Yeah, the Alexa has a Simon Says function where you can say, "Hey Alexa, Simon says, say the kids are stupid," and Alexa will just say back, "The kids are stupid." So anytime you as a parent get sort of exhausted being the ones to always remind your kids that their disappointments, you know what I mean?
Boom.
You just
It
outsource
delegate
it.
it.
You
Yeah.
outsource that stuff.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I feel like that's the first thing I would do, which may be a good thing that I'm not a parent because it seems like you're failing.
Rebecca asked the prototypical American question from a Brit. Do
Mm-hmm.
people actually eat Pop-Tarts in America? We have them over here, and they are classed as an American thing.
Eat the Pop-Tart, Rebecca. Eat the Pop-Tart.
Don't people where she's from like eat like sheep's stomach wrapped
Yeah.
in, or is that Scotland? I can't remember.
I don't know. Isn't it? It's like all on the same island,
They all
isn't it?
speak Spanish over there. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's, as an aside, Rebecca, there's a book called Everybody Lies. And it talks about data that came from Google. And one of the things he tells about is Walmart has noticed that whenever a hurricane's coming, people buy strawberry Pop-Tarts like crazy. They don't know why, but for some reason, when a hurricane's coming or a tornado's coming, people say, you know what I need? A strawberry Pop-Tart. If the end of the world's coming to you,
Strawberry Pop-Tarts.
every time.
And they're good. They are good. I'll give it that.
They're so wrong, you know what I mean? But
So wrong that it's right.
if loving the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right. Sean Jameson asks, do you have a success story where someone was yelling into the Twitter wilderness? And
Yeah,
someone
I don't.
heard the call and did something completely new, inspired by the tweet. We're yelling into the void, Nick. Is anyone listening?
I've had people listen, and I've gotten, I mean, no massive like success stories like, hey, give me $1 million, and then somebody did it. That hasn't happened. But I've seen people connect and collaborate and build a couple of really cool little tools all through Twitter. So that's been fun. But no, I couldn't think of any massive success stories. But you wrote a book through your nightmarish tweets on Twitter. So
I just say things. You know, it's funny, though, the way I see it, I don't judge my experience with my therapist on whether or not my therapist gets it, right? Like, it's not about her. It's about me being able to say something. In the same way, Twitter's not really about me persuading anybody. I'm just trying to relieve the burden.
yeah. Just take the albatross off.
It's not about you, Sean. It's about me. Barry asks the question, I need advice from Ask Twinsies. For some reason, the New York
naturally.
City public golf courses, there are 13, did not open in phase 1, so no city golf courses. Nobody seems to know why. Should I email politicians or let it go and wait?
I feel like if there's ever a good time to email politicians, Barry, this is the one, and preferably you get these emails on some sort of an automated system so that you can hit these politicians with a drip campaign and really drive them nuts.
Like,
Because they don't have anything else going on.
do you guys
right?
all have the email addresses for your politicians? Do they give that out?
No, but that's pretty easy to find because they are public officials.
Oh. Hey,
I'm just
by the way,
asking Barry to step it up a little bit.
here's a
and make this,
technology weirdness. You see how my screen's all yellow? Watch
Don't
what
just
happens.
cut me off when I'm
It will
speaking.
like auto adjust. If I get like up like this, it'll change, and now it's not yellowy anymore. It's the weirdest. We're legal tech aficionados. I don't understand golf. I feel like you're using a stick to hit a ball to a hole really far away. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get golf at all. So I've got nothing for you. Samina asked for some clarification. We got a couple of process of Ask Twinsies.
A lot of our
clarification
friends,
questions.
a lot of our friends aren't as smart as
They just
we are.
don't get it. Samina said, if one does not attend the live show, will they get notified if their question was answered? Nick, is your Alexa device listening to this show and going to tell Samina, hey, by the way, we mentioned you?
Yeah, it is listening, but as I responded to Samina in tweet, we are not going to painstakingly try and tell you that you got a shout out when you didn't even take the time to watch us live.
The only people who know that we talked about you is everyone at the NSA. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
It's not us. We're not going to tell you. Call
No,
them. Email your senator. Get a hold of the NSA. Warren
talk
similarly
talk to Barry.
talk to Barry. He knows the people. Warren similarly asks, "Do you and I, Nick and Mike, really have answers for questions on quantum mechanics?"
Yes, we do. We have the answers. The questions have to be asked.
Yeah, the answer is always 1.21 gigawatts. So I sort of feel like just ask your question, Warren.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get to it.
Don't ask the question before the question, Warren, which is what you did.
Brian Inkster, again over the pond, asks, which legal futurist do you each look up to and why?
I'm not big on futurists. I just sort of, it feels like, no.
I don't even know what that term means. Like,
Nobody knows what it means. There's only like maybe one or two actual futurists in the world who are really thinking above and beyond.
yeah, my
And
initial answer to that was like Kevin Kelly, who's not a legal futurist. He's just a guy who talks about what's coming.
yeah, there's really probably only a handful of people who really should be called a futurist, and they're not in the legal field.
Well, my answer was Jordan Furlong, both because he's taller than me and because he's one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. So
He's also better looking than you are.
it actually has nothing to do with this futuristic futurizing. He's just a nice guy. Johnny Finch asked the question. I
Yeah,
believe-
where is Johnny
Where the
Finch?
hell are
Is
you,
he
Johnny
even
Finch?
watching us?
I believe he's asking, as between you and me, who is the better wingman at a wedding? Pretty sure this is a dig at the fact that Nicola Boo didn't invite me to her wedding, but she invited you. Why, Nick? Why were you invited and not me?
It's a Lebanese thing. You'll never understand it.
Racist.
Yeah.
Reverse
Sorry.
racism.
I'm
Look at
sorry.
the yellow thing again.
So, oh, look at he's jaundiced. He's been drinking a lot of carrot juice. Do it again. So, who's a
Weddings.
better wingman? Yeah, so better wingman. I'm going to probably say you'd be a better wingman at a wedding than I am, because I'm usually trying to find a way to get to leave early, essentially.
I thought you were about to say something dirty.
No, I mean trying to get away from the wedding.
You're like creeping around the corners talking to the bridesmaid. Hey, girl.
Yeah, yeah. No, not that. I mean, sure, but
You're a
I'm
category on YouPorn. Let's talk. Carol similarly asked the questions. What do you do when you go to weddings? This was her second question. Do you dance? Do you eat cake? Do you get drunk?
Yeah, no dancing for me. Definitely, of course, cake. That's what everybody's there for. And then I make some chit chat, and then I try and leave as soon as possible.
The only weddings I've ever been to have been for siblings, and the only purpose that I have there is to tell them, like, to take bets on how long until they get divorced.
Have you won any of those bets yet?
Oh, yeah. It's the most awesome Mormon family thing that of the 8 siblings, I think 5 of us have gotten divorced. Some of us more than once. We're like winning competitions in my family. Relatedly, Carol also asked, do you think when everybody comes back, everybody ends at the end of this lockdown, there's going to be a bunch of divorces? Is everybody going to be like, I've been living with this asshole for 3 months. I'm done. What do you think?
Yes. I don't see a way around it. Some people, if things were going smooth, but you weren't real happy while you were both working during the day, but you're like, screw it, it's working out, and now you're seeing each other every day, pretty sure it's coming to an end.
I don't know, because it sort of reminds me of like when the older 2 kids would fight, Nicole would like tie their hands to each other, right? She'd like take tape or something, and she'd make them stand and look at each other with their hands tied together. And you see this a lot where like kids are forced to be, I say a lot, you see this on sitcoms, and my wife. But having to communicate with each other makes them have conversations they'd have never had before. I wouldn't be surprised if divorces actually fell because people have been tied together, and also because the economy will have totally collapsed and no one will have money to hire a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I guess we will. It's wait and see. But I'm not sure the sibling thing with the tying the hands together
Not good
has the same. I'm not sure that has the same impact with romantic entanglements.
And in fairness,
do you see how I did that?
Didn't really work for my kids either. Brian, with a follow-up question, asks, which twinsy gets mistaken more often for the other one, and why? Do most people think you're me or I'm you?
That I've had it one time that they thought I was you.
I have had somebody reach out to me and say, I saw you at so-and-so, but they were actually talking about you.
Yeah, no, and I actually had one in person where it was great seeing you again, essentially, and I wasn't at the other conference that they were talking about.
Yeah, I don't really feel like if there were Kim Kardashian and someone who looked like Kim Kardashian, they'd ever go up to Kim Kardashian and be like, holy crap, you're Julia, right? Like, it would always be the more famous and attractive and wealthy person that the other person's mistaken for. So it makes a lot of sense that people think you're me. Like the other way around.
Yeah. I'm just afraid of the damage you may do to the brand one day. That's kind of my concern. How are you hurting my reputation?
When I took that picture in that Break the Internet photo shoot where I put a glass on my butt and then shot champagne over into it was art, but it's recognizable.
Yeah, it's certainly harming the brand. Because if anything, I have a very that might be a problem for the morality clause, Mike, in our agreement here. So,
Colin asked the question: why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Nick,
it's the bag of popcorn that I carry around. That's it. It's very simple. They're there for the food.
Yeah, it's because I'm working at home and I have no control over my life, and my wife has purchased like 5 birds who live in my house. That's why, Colin. Thanks for bringing it back up. Every time I hear the song, was it Parenthood that Rick Moranis sang the song in the school classroom to, I can't remember who it was. Anyway.
Probably.
Parenthood.
You
guys go back and watch that. It is awesome. Steve Martin is great in it. The TV show was a ripoff. Rebecca asks another Americanism question. Pepsi or Coke?
Yeah, it's Coke. It's always been Coke. It will always be Coke.
And I feel like we've answered this before. What the hell is Pepsi?
We did this one before.
Pepsi.
If you really want a great Coke, you put the Coke in your refrigerator when it's ice cold. It's got to be in the can. It's got the best bite. It's got that burn. The Coke is just better.
One time, Angela...
Probably not good for you.
Angela asked me to purchase a Mexican Coke from a gas station in Austin. And what makes it Mexican Coke is that they use real sugar and not high fructose corn syrup. And so I go into this store, and it's playing, like, mariachi music, and there's, like, it's obviously this family is from Mexico. They've got, like, flags all over the place and maps and whatever. And I go up to this kid, and I'm like, do you have Mexican Coke? And he's like, what? I said, Mexican Coke. He says, what? And I said, Coke that has sugar in it. He goes, oh, Coke.
Who's Angela?
And Brazil nuts. In Brazil, they just call Brazil nuts nuts. Angela, my former law partner. I've mentioned her before.
Oh, gotcha.
She's wonderful. Blake asks the question, from your combined otherworldly point of view, do you see a subset of lawyers that are wondering how they could do something like what Do Not Pay is doing for consumers? Nick, some of the people watching this don't know what Do Not Pay is, probably. So what is it?
Yeah,
do you see lawyers doing this thing?
It's an application that basically allows, I'm not going to do their elevator pitch for them any justice, but it's kind of consumer rights sort of help you to you can create a fake credit card for your free trials, and you can recover some funds, travel funds, and send letters to kind of dispute certain things. So it's kind of a consumer rights app more than anything. And do I think that the lawyers are wondering how they could? Yes, I think lawyers are wondering how they could. And the next step, I think, would be to reach out to a developer and see if you can create something similar.
It's a tough thing because I don't think many lawyers are thinking about how they can use technology to do some fundamentally different delivery system. And I don't even know that they should. One of the things that drives me crazy is those blank from lawyers for lawyers or by lawyers for lawyers or whatever, as if
Right.
being a lawyer involved in the development of a tech tool means that that tool is going to be somehow better. Usually it's not. Usually, honestly, you should use the technology that existed before and just figure out how to apply it to
Yeah,
lawsuits.
yeah, and I think, I think what Blake's trying to say here is not that they would do the exact same thing as Do Not Pay does, because they're doing on the consumer rights thing. They're so far ahead, it's going to be hard for a lawyer to catch up with that. But maybe some other service delivery via an app. And I think I've certainly interviewed quite a few people who are doing that type of thing. But they have certainly done it better, and they've got an amazing dev team. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many lawyers are really thinking about it. I think maybe they have the thought, the inception, and then they kind of fall asleep on it.
They just need DiCaprio. Nicole, by the way, she mentioned that she wants the soda from Torchy's. You may not have been to Texas recently, but Torchy's no longer has that main root soda. They use Coke now. I'm sorry. Greg asks the question, who's your favorite legal podcaster and why is it Bob Ambrogi?
And it stings a little bit that Greg, who is a podcaster, would ask this question
Especially
to
because
two
it's
other
so obvious.
that it's to two other legal podcasters who are. Oh, do I have to do both fingers? Yeah. Bob. Bob
Who is
has run.
Bob Ambrogi?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah. This stings, Greg.
Ambrogi.
Greg asked the question to two other legal podcasters about somebody that wasn't himself.
Hey, by the way, if you guys haven't heard, there's a new podcast on the waves called Lawyer Forward. If you look it up, it's not the one that used to be me. It's the one that's now me. It says Breaking Media, coming out every Tuesday, I believe. Subscribe, tell your friends. The answer's me, Greg.
Legal Tech Live, Thursday nights at 9 p.m.
Nobody's
Eastern.
ever even heard of that. Some guy named Nick asked the stupid question, how do we feel about rice cakes? A good snack or not worth it? What was your feedback on this?
So it seems to be most people find it not worth it unless it's smothered in peanut butter or something else.
Yeah, that's called a whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
You take the rice cake, and then you wrap it in peanut butter, and then you dip it in chocolate, and you've just made a homemade whatchamacallit. It's a candy
That's
bar.
what it is. Yep.
That's when it's good.
Yep.
All the rest of the time.
So predominantly there was one who really appears to be a health nut. But even some other health nuts that have responded, I was a little surprised. They're not a big fan of the rice cake.
Well, what's funny is Rebecca responded with, oh, they're so great. You should try this brand and this brand and this brand. And it was like, we don't have any of those here.
No, none of them.
So
None of them.
all the things that you're saying are not real for us. Joe Michelati asks the Italian-sounding question.
Michelati.
Fettuccine or fusilli? Are you a long pasta person or a short pasta person?
Longer is better in my book. But I mean, is that wrong? I don't know. You looked at me as though it's wrong.
Anytime you say longer is better, I just get
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because you have a filthy
my
mind.
fingers sparkle. I would say it depends on the context, Joe. It's
Oh,
really
Jesus.
hard to get sauce to stick to a long pasta, but you can get chunky goodness.
I once lived in
Inside.
Italy, and now I'm going to
Fusilli.
share my thoughts.
So good. Hey, tonight I made a fasolata. It's like a Greek bean stew. It was so good and so easy. The secret is you put an apple in there, not cut up. Just let it get the pectin out. It's so good. Give it a try. Warren asks
almost
a question
over.
that only applies to lawyers here. Why? What's wrong with Pacer? He says sarcastically.
Yeah.
Do you know Pacer? Did you ever have to use it?
Yeah. I use it once in a while. It's an expensive product. It's for no
It's
reason.
all federal court stuff, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah, so most of us, this is the in the real world where state courts happen, and it's so funny that there's such a different world on the ground of how people practice versus what large firms, especially, but academia is concerned about too. Academics are so far removed from the experienced legal system. It's totally fascinating to me and makes me really sad. And actually, the podcast I'm recording tomorrow for the Lawyer Forward podcast is in part about that. Rick Robb jumps in to add the word interesting.
Hmm. That's what we aim for, Rick. We are an interesting duo.
This poor man, such low standards. Rebecca asks another USA America question. If you could recommend one place in the U.S. for someone to visit, where would it be and why?
I'm going to recommend two, and unfortunately for most of you listening, they are both in California. Lake Tahoe is one, and the second one would be Carmel, California.
Where's that?
That's Central Coast,
South of San Francisco?
south of San Jose, even.
Oh, yeah. Pretty country out there. I was really going to say Grater's Ice Cream in Cincinnati for their mint chocolate chip. You know? You got to get the...
Wow. Wow. So I do appreciate that many of your travel experiences revolve around food because that is how I decide where to travel. But if we're going for just the beautiful experience of something, which, yeah, other than us, of course, having us there, Carmel and Lake Tahoe are two of the most beautiful places that I've ever been.
Yeah, I really like Destin Beach, Florida, but don't go there right now. It's filled with idiots and you're going to die. Jason asks the question, what is the average airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
And I understand that this is a reference to Monty Python, and that's what he was getting at. So I went a little deeper and went to a blog post from some sort of a physics professor who has come up with the speed 24 miles per hour. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's the average airspeed for an unladen swallow.
I feel as unsatisfied as like from Hitchhiker's Guide when they go up and the computer gives them the answer, the number, the answer to everything and whatever, and they're just like, okay, what do I
You
do
know what do you do with that information? That's all for Jason to figure out in his own mind.
Final question. Adriana Linares asks, better word processor, Word Perfect or Word?
So luckily for me, I was never forced to deal with Word Perfect, though I know some people still think that it's a wonderful product. Word is what I grew up on. Word is what I've used. It's all I know.
Nick is trying to call Adriana old. I will say that I, once upon a time in school, actually coded a computer, like a thing in class with like zeros and ones. There are actual zeros and ones.
Yeah, I do zeros and ones all day long in my job. It's still a thing. Yeah, it happens.
Well, for users like you, WordPerfect is great. Make sure you send it via your facsimile. This is Ask Twinsies. We're here every week until we decide that we've got better things to do. If during the week you will use the hashtag Ask Twinsies, we will answer your questions at the end of the week, get you started off right. And that's it. That's it, man. You good?
I'm good. I'm ready. Let's do it. We're done.
Guys. You guys have a good night. We will see you next week.
Good night, all. Thank you.